My name is Jake, and any lingering doubts about my place in my family vanished the day I stumbled upon the will. It wasn't some grand formal moment where my parents sat me down to break the news. Instead, I found out purely by chance, a stroke of bitter luck. A few months back, I was at their house, the same one I'd been helping them maintain for the past 5 years. Mortgage payments, grocery runs, repairs around the place. I was the one holding it all together while my brother Eric contributed absolutely nothing. When I say nothing, I mean zero effort. No job, no responsibilities, just coasting through life, expecting handouts, which my parents were all too eager to provide. That day, I was sorting through paperwork for my dad as usual, because neither he nor Mom could be bothered to manage it themselves. He'd asked me to organize some legal and financial documents, and I didn't think much of it until I spotted it. A folder labeled Estate Plan and Last Will tucked among the papers. I'm not one to pry, but curiosity got the better of me. After all, I'd been the one ensuring they had a roof over their heads. It didn't seem unreasonable to wonder about their plans for the future. So I opened it, and my heart sank when I read the words. Everything, every single thing, was left to Eric. The house, their savings, their assets. Not a single mention of me except for a vague line about loving both sons equally. Equal? Hardly. That's why they decided their favored son would inherit it all, while the one keeping their lives afloat was barely acknowledged. I felt like an idiot. Here I was, going above and beyond for them, ensuring their bills were paid, their pantry stocked, while they planned a future where I got nothing. And Eric? He wasn't just idle, he was entitled. He never lifted a finger to help, never chipped in a cent, yet somehow convinced them he deserved everything. Maybe it was because he was the younger son. Maybe they always coddled him. Maybe he knew exactly how to play them. Whatever the reason, they'd made their choice clear. I sat there staring at the document, my hands trembling with a mix of fury and betrayal. How long had they planned this? Did they always see me as their financial crutch, nothing more? Did they even value what I'd done for them? I don't know how long I sat there, but my dad eventually noticed I'd stopped working. "Jake, what's taking so long?" he asked, strolling back into the room. I didn't bother hiding the will. I held it up and locked eyes with him. "So, this is how it works?" I said, my voice eerily steady. "Everything to Eric? After all I've done for you?" His face paled briefly, but then he sighed, like I was a child overreacting. "Jake, it's not what you think." "Really?" I shot back. "Because it looks crystal clear to me. I've been covering your mortgage, buying groceries, fixing the house, while Eric does nothing and you still chose him." Dad shifted uncomfortably but offered no real explanation, just mumbling, "It's complicated." That was it. No apology, no justification, just a weak dodge and a look that said he expected me to let it go and resume being their financial lifeline. I should have left right then, but I wanted to hear it from both of them. So I called for my mom. When she saw the will in my hands, she at least had the decency to look ashamed, but her words made my blood boil. "Jake, honey, you don't need the inheritance," she said softly, as if doing me a favor. "You're doing well. You're independent. Eric struggles. We just want to ensure he's okay." That's when something in me broke. They weren't even pretending otherwise. They knew exactly what they were doing and thought it was perfectly reasonable. They'd spent years enabling Eric's laziness, and now they were rewarding it by giving him everything while dismissing me as an afterthought. I took a deep breath, set the will on the table, and said, "Got it. Good to know where I stand." Then I walked out, ignoring their protests, as I slammed the door behind me. They'd made their decision. Now it was my turn to make mine. I didn't return to their house after that. No calls, no check-ins. For the first time in years, I let them deal with their own problems. Need something fixed? Figure it out? Need groceries? Get to the store? Mortgage due? Not my problem anymore. The silence lasted 2 weeks. At first, they probably thought I was just sulking and would come crawling back, as always. Maybe they expected me to calm down and apologize for questioning their choices. But as the days passed with no word from me and no money, their attitude shifted. Then one afternoon, my phone pinged, a text from Dad. Property taxes are due. That was it. No, how are you? No, sorry for what happened. Just a cold demand, as if I were still their personal bank. I stared at the message, almost amused by their predictability. They really thought they could demand cash like nothing had happened. That I'd keep playing my role after they made it clear I was expendable? I replied, I'm sure Eric's got it, since the house is his. Within 5 minutes, Mom called. I let it ring. Then another text. Jake, please don't be like this. We need to talk. Now they wanted to talk. Now that their bills were piling up and reality was hitting them. I waited an hour before responding. Nothing to talk about, you made your choice. Live with it. I thought that would be it for the day. I'd been clear and I felt no guilt. But then Eric jumped in. His text came late that evening and I knew it'd be infuriating the moment I saw his name. Sure enough, dude, why are you making such a big deal? It's not that serious. Just help them like you always do. I nearly laughed. Not serious? He was acting like I had no right to be upset. I replied, Nah, you've got this, since you're the favorite. His response, Are you seriously mad about the will? Grow up, man. It's just money. Just money? Now that it was his to inherit, it was suddenly no big deal. The hypocrisy was staggering. I shot back, Then you won't mind using some of that money for the mortgage, right? Silence. Mom texted again, this time in full guilt trip mode. Jake, we're your parents. Family helps each other. We did so much for you growing up, and now you're abandoning us? I had to breathe deeply to keep from smashing my phone. Abandoning them? I'd spent years ensuring they never struggled, while they enabled Eric and rewarded his laziness. Now that they faced the consequences, I was the villain? I wasn't falling for it. I replied, You made it clear I'm not family when you left me out of the will. Eric can handle it. I could picture Mom's dramatic gasp. She always played the victim, even when she was wrong. Dad texted next, and this one pushed me over the edge. We're not asking for much, just enough for the mortgage for a few months until we sort things out. Don't be selfish. Selfish? The word made my blood boil. I'd sacrificed my time, money, and energy for years to make their lives easier. I'd done everything a good son should, and they repaid me by cutting me out. Now, when I finally stood up for myself, I was selfish? I typed back, No, I'm done. Then I turned off my phone. They'd made their choice. Now they'd live with it. The silence lasted a day. I knew they wouldn't give up easily, but I wasn't prepared for what came next. The next morning, I got a bank transfer request notification. I frowned, checking my phone. It was from Mom, $3,500, no message, no explanation, just a shameless demand for the exact amount of their overdue mortgage. They weren't even asking anymore. They assumed I'd cave. I declined it instantly. 5 minutes later, Mom called. I let it ring. Then a text. Jake, I know you saw the request. Why did you decline it? I took my Alina system. My time before replying, It's not my responsibility. Ask Eric. Another call, ignored. Then another text from Mom. We'll lose the house if you don't help us. Now it was an emergency. After years of me covering everything, they were facing consequences and suddenly it was my problem? I replied, Maybe you should have thought about that before deciding I didn't matter. Dad's next text made me laugh bitterly. You're really gonna let your parents become homeless? The manipulation was so blatant it was almost comical. They weren't destitute, they just didn't want to touch their savings because they were used to me handling everything. I ignored them for the rest of the day. That night, Eric texted, Just send the money, man. You're blowing this out of proportion. I clenched my jaw. This entitled jerk thought he could lecture me? I replied, You mean the money you're inheriting? Pay it yourself? His response, you know I don't have that kind of cash. So it was fine for me to drain my savings, but he had nothing to offer. I shot back, guess you better figure it out, bro. You're their choice. No reply. I went to bed feeling strangely calm, like I'd finally escaped years of manipulation. But the next day, things escalated. I was at work when the apartment front desk called, "Hey Jake, your parents are here. They say it's an emergency and you're not answering." I nearly dropped my phone. They showed up at my place because I stopped paying their bills? I took a deep breath. Don't let them up. I'm not expecting them. An awkward pause. They're being pushy. I gritted my teeth. I don't care. They can leave. I hung up and got a text from Mom. We're downstairs. Open the door. No question, just a demand. Another text. We're not leaving until you talk to us. I exhaled sharply, grabbed my keys and headed downstairs, my anger boiling over. They were standing there, Mom, Dad, and Eric, like they were staging an intervention. Mom had her arms crossed. Her disappointed mother looked in full force. Dad stood rigidly, hands in his pockets, radiating entitlement. Eric looked bored, like this was just a minor annoyance. Mom spoke first, all drama. Jake, finally, we need to talk. I leaned against the door frame. Number, you need to leave. She blinked, stunned. Excuse me? You heard me, I said, voice steady but firm. You don't get to show up at my home demanding money. That's insane, Dad scoffed. You're gonna let us lose the house over a grudge? I laughed coldly. A grudge? You mean finding out I was good enough to pay your bills but not good enough for your will? Mom gasped, clutching her chest. Jake, that's not fair. We did what's best for the family. I tilted my head. Best for Eric. Just admit it. Silence. Heavy, undeniable silence. Eric finally spoke. Look, man, I don't want to be involved. I didn't ask for this. I turned on him. No, you just take everything handed to you. You're 28, Eric. Get a job. His face flushed. What the hell, dude? I stepped closer. You want the house? Act like an owner. You want to be the golden child? Pay their bills. I'm done being your bank. Eric looked away, suddenly fascinated by the ground. Mom tried again, voice trembling. Jake, he's your brother. I nodded. And I've supported him longer than you have. Dad's face darkened. You're being selfish. I laughed again. Selfish? From the people who gave Eric everything and me nothing? And now you're trying to guilt me into fixing your mess? Not happening. Mom's voice sharpened. We thought you'd be mature about this. I raised an eyebrow. Mature? You mean quietly accept betrayal and keep paying your bills? That's what you wanted. Dad stepped forward, trying to intimidate me. We raised you, fed you, gave you everything. The least you can do is help us now. I met his gaze. I've been helping for years, and you repaid me by cutting me out. Mom's lip quivered. We thought you'd understand. I shook my head. I understand perfectly. I was never family, just a paycheck. Silence again. I turned to Eric. And you. What's your excuse? You've had years to get your act together, but you knew they'd always bail you out. And after they're gone, you expected me to step in? Eric snapped. I didn't ask for this. I nodded. Right. You just profited. He had no response. Mom tried one last time. Jake, we're family. Family helps each other. I stared at her. Exactly. So why didn't you help me? She froze, speechless. I exhaled, feeling lighter. We're done here. I walked back inside, closing the door. Before I reached my couch, Dad texted, Wow, after everything we've done for you, you're abandoning us? I smirked, replying, No, you abandoned me. I'm just accepting it. Then I blocked their numbers, but blocking them only made things worse. Less than a day later, I noticed posts on Facebook. My parents, never tech experts, knew how to play the victim online. At first, I thought it was just their usual drama, but their posts were calculated attacks disguised as family devotion. Mom wrote about not raising a selfish son and how real family helps no matter what. Her friends commented, calling me a disappointment. Dad posted, "So-called family shouldn't turn their back when you need them most. We gave our kids everything, and this is our reward." He tagged me with a passive-aggressive, "Hope you're proud." Eric joined in, sharing a post full of lies. Some people think family is just money. They don't get that it's about love and sacrifice. I'd do anything for my parents, but some are too self-absorbed to see that. A direct jab. I wish some people understood what family really means. That was my breaking point. They'd twisted everything, painting me as the selfish son who didn't appreciate their love. How dare they? I'd worked tirelessly, never complaining, and now I was the villain? I waited a few hours to cool off, but I couldn't let this slide. If they wanted to drag my name through the mud, I'd tell the truth. So I opened Facebook and wrote a post. I didn't want to play their petty game. I wanted honesty. Here's what I posted. I've been silent, but I can't stay quiet anymore. My family's been spreading lies about me, calling me selfish for not helping in their time of need. Let's be clear. I've always supported them. Since I started working, I've paid bills, bought groceries, and kept them afloat. But you can only give so much without respect. For years, I've watched my parents favor Eric, giving him the house, the money, the love, while I was expected to keep giving without question. When I found out their will left everything to Eric, I realized how one-sided this was. They didn't even consider me. I was just their safety net. Not their son family should be mutual, not a one-way street. I've funded their lives, vacations, taxes, bills, for nothing but betrayal. I'm done being their wallet. Eric's 28, jobless, and enabled by them. It's time he steps up. To those supporting my parents, there's two sides to every story. Family means respect, and I've earned it. I'm not turning my back on them. I'm choosing myself. To my parents, I wish you well, but I'm no longer your doormat. Posting it felt liberating. For the first time, I exposed their manipulation. Friends, cousins, even distant relatives liked the post and messaged their support, apologizing for what I'd endured. It was freeing to have the truth out there, but my family lost it. Eric messaged, "You're a traitor, airing our business like this? No respect." Dad called, shouting, "You've ruined everything, Jake. You'll regret abandoning your family." I didn't regret it. I blocked them all. I was done. For the first time, I was free from their toxic hold. The weight lifted as I refused to be their doormat. I deserved better, and I still do. Now I'm surrounding myself with people who value me for me, not what I can provide. I'm moving forward, and I will. Let me know your thoughts below. Thank you for watching Story. Please subscribe and hit the notification bell for more real-life stories.